What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Pro Football Focus here on the John Check Sports Media Network. Normally, when I do these podcasts for my football ones, I usually go and I elaborate what happened on the previous week, pretty much with all the teams. But this week, since the NFL is about to kick off, here in a couple hours, and I want this video to be up before the kickoff, I'm going to kind of turbocharge my way through this video. So week 6 picks, here we go. Thursday Night Football was a pretty, not a great game. Turnovers bit Atlanta from keeping them from going 6-0. And let's be honest here, Atlanta they were trailing, I think, in 4 of the 5 games in the fourth quarter that they came back and won from. The only game they weren't trailing in, I believe, was the Dallas Cowboys game where they destroyed them. Actually, 3 of the 5 because they blew out the Texans too. They blew out the Texans and the Cowboys. But nonetheless, basically turnovers came and haunted them, and the Saints got an upset victory. The Saints, who have dominated the Falcons pretty much over the last couple of years, especially at home. You know, they came out and Drew Brees looked great, 30 of 39. He looked like old Drew Brees, and Ben Watson had an outstanding game. So he basically came out of nowhere, had a big performance. So that was your Thursday Night Football game this week. Atlanta finally falls, so now there remains 5 unbeatens in the NFL, and it wasn't that great of a game. It was actually kind of boring. Thursday Night Football kind of sucks sometimes, but neither here nor there. That was the Thursday Night Football for this week. So let's get right on into the picks. The Bears at Lions. The Lions are coming off a game last week where the Cardinals destroyed them. Matt Stafford ended up getting benched. He had 3 picks. Dan Orlovsky comes out, throws an interception, and the Lions, I think it was like 48-7. They got destroyed. So, Lions at home against the Chicago Bears team that's won 2 straight games. Jay Cutler looked pretty good last week. So, you know something? A lot of people are going, well, the Lions are too talented on both sides of the ball. You know, defense is too good, and, you know, what they got on offense. But, you know, Bears got momentum. They beat the Raiders. 2 straight games, and I don't trust the Lions. They just know how to lose games better than anyone in the history of the NFL. Whether it's last week where they turned the ball over 5 times, whether it's the week before that where Calvin Johnson, gets the fumble in the goal line. So I'm taking the Bears to beat the Lions at home because the Lions are terrible. Next game, Redskins at Jets. Redskins, man, they've been playing pretty good. Their defense is a legitimate defensive front. They've been giving teams, games. And they could have won last week, but they lost. But it was a close game. But I'm going to take the Jets at home to beat the Redskins because Kirk Cousins, I think he only has like 5 touchdowns on the year, and Matt Jones is out, and they just can't score. And the Jets' defensive front, I think, is going to bottle up Alfred Morris, which is going to keep them from winning this game. So I'm taking the Jets to win at home. And then we got Cardinals at Steelers. What a game this should be. Cardinals are undoubtedly one of the best teams in the NFC. The only team they could probably rival is the Packers. Those 2 teams are pretty much the class of the NFC right now. And Palmer coming off that dominating performance. CJ2K had another great game, and David Johnson and Larry Fitt. And so against the Steelers team that's been playing pretty good, Mike Vick last week. What a great game it was on Monday Night Football. The Steelers get down to the goal line with 5 seconds to go, and Le'Veon Bell just breaks the plane to score the go-ahead touchdown with time expiring. And then there was controversy in this game about the refs got the clocks wrong and let 18 seconds run off the clock, which almost screwed the Steelers because if Le'Veon Bell didn't get in there instead of them electing to kick the field goal to go overtime, there would have been some crying and some complaining by Steeler fans. Nonetheless, the Steelers got it. But Cardinals at Steelers, this is a hard one. If Ben Roethlisberger was back, I think I would lean towards him because they're at home. Their defense has been playing better, But Antonio Brown hasn't been as effective, mainly because, Mike Vick's been back there. And so they've been relying heavy on the run game. So I'm going to take the Cardinals. I mean, their defense is good. Carson Palmer's playing amazing right now. So I'm going to take the Cardinals to beat the Steelers at home. Like I said, if Ben Roethlisberger was playing in this game, I would lean towards the Steelers, but he's not. So I'm going to take the Cardinals. Chiefs at Vikings. No Jamal Charles means Chiefs have no chance. Vikings are going to win this game. Bengals at Bills. Now, this is a good game. Really good game. E.J. Manuel starting in spot for the injured Tyrod Taylor. LaShawn McCoy, I believe, is back this game. But Andy Dalton, I actually heard the statistic this morning, has the 2nd most road wins in the NFL. He's like 21-13, which is the best record to any quarterback not named Tom Brady. So he can get it done on the road, and he's playing like a different kind of quarterback this year. I know how good the Bills' defense is, but I'm going to take the Bengals to win this game. You know, Andy Dalton and company are playing amazing. A.J. Green, Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard. I mean, their defense is playing good. So I'm going to take the Bengals to win this one. And then we got Broncos at Browns. Now, the Browns have made their games close the last couple weeks. They pulled out a victory last week, and Josh McCown, 457 yards his last time out. He's been playing really, really well. But you're going up against a Broncos defensive front that has accounted for 57.7% of the Broncos' points this year, which is not a good statistic because, you know, you want your offense to be scoring more points than your defense/special teams, and that hasn't been the case because Peyton Manning hasn't been good this year. But Josh McCown, he's thrown, I think, 3 straight 300-yard games, but that streak's going to come to an end because that Broncos defense... Sorry, McCown. It's gonna be a day. The Broncos are gonna win this, and Peyton Manning's never lost to the Browns either. So that's why I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. And then we got Texans at Jags, and Blake Bortles is coming off a hell of a performance his last time. I believe he had 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. I think it was against the Bucs last week. So he looked good. And then the Texans, they've been awful, absolutely god awful. So I know something. I'm going to take the Jags to beat the Texans at home this week. Blake Bortles has looked good. He's been playing better. Alan Hearns and T.J. Yeldon, they got a nice little squad going there. Obviously they're not going to win anything this year, but the Texans they just look awful. And J.J. Watt is I think questionable for this game. So you already lost your best defensive player, and you're going against a Jaguars team that has been playing better the last couple weeks. Blake Bortles has at least. I'm going to take the Jags. Dolphins at Titans. So the new regime, minus Joe Philbin, starts this week. And let's see how the Dolphins come out and play. Now, Marcus Mariota hasn't been as good as of late. You know, rookie quarterback, you'd expect his play to waver from week to week. He's a young guy. But I'm going to take I think I'm going to take the Titans to win this game at home. The Dolphins, their defense, I think they got like 1 sack on the year. They haven't been that impressive. I know it's a new guy out there. I know it's a new coach. But, the Dolphins, they don't scare me whatsoever. Tannehill with that whole controversy in camp about practice squad players picking them off, and it just doesn't show good mental toughness, none of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to take the Titans to beat the Dolphins. And then we got the Panthers at Seahawks. And I got the undefeated Panthers at the Seahawks. Now, this game I don't think is a guaranteed lock, like most games are where the Seahawks are at home. Because when the crappy Detroit Lions come up there and nearly beat you, and the only reason why they did lose is because 1, the ref blew the call, 2, Calvin Johnson fumbled the ball. Now, Cam Newton has been playing out of his mind, and their defense has been playing great too, and they're getting back Luke Kuechly this week. And Marshawn Lynch is banged up, even though Thomas Rawls has he played really good last week. He had like 169 yards. But Cam Newton has never beaten Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson is 4-0 career all-time against the Panthers. They're at home. So Carolina's going to fall this week. I'm going to go with the Seahawks because they're at home. Now, Chargers at Packers. They're sporting a throwback unis this week. The new ones, actually. The first time they wore those since the mid-90s. And, the Packers need to get it going. Their run game has been lackluster the last few weeks. Eddie Lacy hasn't been that good. James Starks hasn't been that good. Aaron Rodgers has kind of been running for his life. The play of the offensive line hasn't been good, which I think is directly correlated the effect of why the running game hasn't been that good, because the offensive line play hasn't been as good. And I think what the lack of the running game has really hurt them for the lack of the deep ball. They're really missing Jordy Nelson for that deep threat. Randall Cobb is a fast guy, but Jordy Nelson is sneaky fast. He was that guy that, he had all those touchdowns of 50 or more yards last year. And he was amongst the leaders in it, and he could burn you down the seam. He could burn you down because he was sneaky fast. He's a really fast guy. And they really haven't had anyone, to replace him, because a lot of the receivers are kind of the same thing. Ty Montgomery is kind of similar to James Jones. They're a guy that, they don't burn you with their blazing speed, especially James Jones. He's a guy that's always covered. He's not fast. He's just that guy that, he's got good hands. He can make catches in traffic, and burn you once in a while. Like last week, he had a big, I think a 65-yard catch. But, Rodgers hit him on a quick slant, and he ran up the seam and, nearly scored a touchdown. But the lack of a deep threat is really hurting their offense, and I think it all comes down to the running game hasn't been as good. Their offensive line play hasn't been as good, so it's all directly correlating and affecting one another. I think you get the run game going, the offensive line plays better. Aaron Rodgers gets a little bit more time. Teams can't, teams start stacking the box to try to stop Lacey. Opens up man coverages on the outside. Then you can start taking your shots downfield. I mean, a lot of these bigger passes that Rodgers has thrown this year has come off of offsides. They got free plays because Rodgers is a master of that quick counts, that quick snap count, and so he's burned teams with that because if there's a pick, it doesn't matter because it's coming back. And Rodgers actually threw his first two interceptions at home for the first time since 2010 last week, and he broke the streak of 587 passes without an interception at home, which was crazy. But the interception. The first one sucked because it was a batted pass that James Laurinaitis caught, and then the second pass wasn't even a catch. The NFL and their catch rule is god-awful. It wasn't even a catch. The defender trapped it on the ground, but they ruled it a catch, blah, blah, blah. Not having sour grapes. They won the game. They're 5-0. Now, the Chargers, they lost last week to the Steelers, and the Browns nearly beat them a couple weeks ago at home, and, the Chargers defense isn't that good. I think if there's a game that the Packers offense is finally going to start looking like the Packers offense of the first couple weeks, it's going to be this game, because the Chargers defense isn't that great. And as long as they keep Melvin Gordon in check, because I think he's the key for this, I'm not so worried about Phillip Rivers, because our corner play has been awesome. So is our safety play. Rollins had a pick six, a couple picks last week. And the defense only allowed, I think, seven points, and they scored a pick six, and I think 4 interceptions. I mean, forced a fumble. Clay Matthews was great, against the Rams last week. So they got a lot of pressure. Their defense has been absolutely outstanding. So I'm not too worried about the passing part of it, because like I said, the play at the corners and the secondary. But I am worried that, Todd Gurley threw up 159 yards and had a couple of big runs on him last week. So I think Melvin Gordon could be the X factor. They keep Melvin Gordon in check because their pass defense is great. It's been really good this year. They're allowing, I think the second fewest amount of points in the NFL, and they're like third in fewest amount of passing yards. But they have been getting burned on the ground a little bit. So you keep Melvin Gordon in check, I think they win this game easily. And I think this is the game where, the offense finally starts to look like the offense again. And then they got Ravens and 49ers. What a terrible game. The 49ers played better last week. They looked against the Giants. But I'm going to take the Ravens to beat the 49ers. The Niners have played better at home this year. But this game, who cares? I'm going to take the Ravens, on a whim. Because both teams suck. So I'm taking the Ravens. And then we got Patriots at Colts. The rematch of the AFC Championship, and I guarantee all the balls are going to be properly inflated this time, Colts fans, so you got nothing to cry about when the Colts blow you up by 3 scores. The Colts have not played a competitive game against the Patriots in their last 6 contests. The last 6 contests, the Patriots have beaten by at least 17 points. All 6 of them. They don't stand a chance. Tom Brady has owned the Colts. Luck's coming back off an injury. The Patriots defense has played a lot better than people thought they would. So I hope Tom Brady comes out and just dismantles them, because I just don't think they stand a chance. I just don't. The highest scoring offense in the NFL, Rob Gronkowski, is just on another planet right now. So with properly inflated footballs this time, it ain't going to matter because the Colts are losing this game, especially with the rushing attack of Garrett Blount and Dion Lewis. They've been great. And then we got the Giants at Eagles. The Giants are coming off a nice win, and the Eagles are coming off a win where they blew out. Or no, what happened last week with the Eagles? The Eagles won last week. Now, the Giants have a lot of banged up guys. Is pretty much their biggest problem. Their wide receiver course hurt, especially Odell Beckham Jr., who's questionable. Larry O'Donnell had an outstanding catch last week in the end with close to time expiring in the fourth quarter for a go-ahead score. And, against the 49ers. And with the banged-up players on the offensive side for the Giants, it might be the difference. Sam Bradford looked better. The offense for the Eagles looked better last week. Against the Saints is, I believe, who they played. They blew them out pretty good. But I'm going to take the Giants to win this game. You know, I want to see some consistency out of a Chip Kelly offense in back-to-back weeks before I sit here and I dump my faith that, okay, hey, they had a really good game offensively. They're going to have that same kind of showing again this week. So, if they put back-to-back weeks together where they look good again, DeMarco Murray runs the ball good, and, Ryan Matthews and Darren Sproles, continue their solid play, and, Bradford can show that he's a competent quarterback, and, the Eagles defense has been great, but, I'm going to take the Giants because I think Odell Beckham's going to play. I think he's going to grind through this. And Eli Manning, he's only had one interception all year, and it was a really bad interception. But, yeah, so I'm going to take the Giants to beat the Eagles. So that's my Week 6 picks. Hope you guys enjoy your NFL Sunday like I will. And I'll see you guys next week for talk about what happened in Week 6 and preview Week 7. Have a good one, guys.